doesn't multitask. Oh.
All right, we're gonna start knee to elbow escape. All right, this month we're working on guard. Okay, so Coach Mike's got technique for this class. I'm gonna do the warm up. So we're gonna focus on like some guard specific stuff and hip movement. So when you're working through your knee to elbow escape, all right, I want you to be focusing on that movement of your hips. All right, I'm gonna turn my side. Move my hips. I want a lot of movement from my hips. Right. Imagine if I was in guard. Right, open guard position and I'm working, I want a lot of movement from my hips, right? I want to be able to come in and out. All right, so really focus on that hip movement as we're working this knee to elbow, right? I want that hip movement, in and out, back and forth, okay? Now I'm back, on you guys, go.
When I learned it like doing one leg at a time to start with. And it's like you like pick yourself up just a little bit with that top leg, so your hips just a little off the ground. You're on your foot and your shoulder. Right? And then switch.
And then once you get more used to that, you can incorporate it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yep. Finish up that wall and hop up. We'll get plenty more practices, so don't worry. Alright, I want you to grab a partner. Alright, so your partner is just gonna be on the mat, on their knees in a guard position. Right, they're just there to be there. They're just gonna sit upright, not gonna do anything. They're just there so I have a gauge, because I'm gonna work on that hip movement in and out, right? So we're gonna work all the way back, and now I'm gonna work on pulling myself back in, right? So use your partner, right, when you push and pull. Don't think you can't use your partner to push on, pull on, right? Especially when you're coming back into that guard position, right? Use your heel. Hook on their hip, hook on their thigh, hook on their rib, whatever, wherever you're at, and use that to pull yourself back in, right? Because I'd be active in my guard position, right? If I just lay here on my back, odds are I'm not gonna last very long unless this person's brand new, right? I wanna be active in my guard, so we're just gonna press out, right? Come back in, go to the other side, move out, come back in, going back and forth, right? So we're gonna do 10 total or 5 each side, however you wanna count it. Make sense? So it really doesn't matter how big or small the other person is, they're just there to be a practice dummy, okay? So grab your partner, 10 of those. 1, 2, 3. I want to get as much movement as I can. Five each side, 10 total, however, whatever you said. If you don't count.
Yours, one's closed, yours. Yeah, you get one, so we're here. There you go.
You want us to kind of
Same thing with someone with the circle, right?
Yeah, just like my knee to elbow drill, I want to get as much movement in and out as I can without, I don't want to get so far away like I lose control. I want to, be able to.
Can you push off the hips, or you just do it?
It's whichever way you want. I've got my feet flat on the mat and I'm moving from there, right? Because generally speaking, I'm going to have my guard closed and my open, my feet are going to go to the mat.
Good.
And I'm moving from there. If you go open and to one in, I want you to focus on getting your hips up, and I want you to bring your hips, your hind end, as close back in. I want my hips off the mat, right? So many times, right, so many of the guards that we use, X guard, single leg X, spider, De La Diva, lasso, well, not so much De La Diva, but lasso guard, right? Our hips are off the mat, right? If we're flat on our back this way, doing any of those guards, a lot of times that's not very good technique. That person, generally we struggle with that guard, or that person gets out of that guard pretty easily, right? So same thing, I want to start, just like if it helps, start with closed guard first, okay? Get yourself in a position where you know, right? When I'm in closed guard, I should be off the mat already, right? Unless I'm pulling this person forward to me, right? If I'm just in this position, my hips should generally be off. I'm not way off the mat, but I don't want to get used to sitting way back here, right? Closed guard, I want to be in here. So now I'm going to open my guard. Mason asked a good question. Do we want to put foot in the hip or on the mat? That's going to depend upon you and where your first step is, right? I like to open my guard, I pinch my knees and put my feet on the mat. So my first step is going to be there and move. But if you open your guard and one foot goes to the hip, you're welcome to do that too. Neither one is wrong. It's just going to depend upon your guard, okay? Like if you like to go to spider, lasso, that kind of stuff, you may come back to the hip, because now I can go straight to here. I can work those guards, right? Come down here, that's a lot more movement, range of motion, right? So that part's going to depend upon you. If you don't know what to do, try it this way, work from there. I just focus on pinching my knees, feet hit the mat. Now I'm gonna, right? My knee and elbow movement. Now I want to create as much space as I can, but still be in control, right? Basically, the back of my heel hits my partner's hip, okay? So I've given myself as much space as possible, but now I want to retake all that space. I want to come all the way back in, so I can go straight back to a closed guard position. My hips off the mat, right? It's easy to kind of get lazy on this drill and just do this right here. And that's not bad, but when we go live, we're not magically going to remember to pick our hips up, okay? So in these kind of drills, we have to focus on these things, right? We're not worried about a sweep, we're not worried about a grip, we're not worried about what this person is doing. So it's the perfect time to hyper-focus on these little details, because then we're gonna, the more we do this over and over again, then we're gonna build that muscle memory, and we're not gonna think about it when we're rolling live, and then we're gonna be able to focus on our grips, on our position, you know, where our body's going, what kind of sweep we're doing, or what we're doing, rather than making sure that our hips are up and our body's where it's supposed to be. Does that make sense? So I want you to do the same thing 10 more times, but really focus. You need to slow down. Come out here, really focus on pulling yourself back in. Like I said, if it helps, go back to a closed guard position. Start again. Okay? Make sense? All right, let's do 10 more. 1, 2, 3. Used to either, if you want one foot to come back in the hip, come back in the hip, or let one foot go to the mat. Because if you open and this one just floats here, right, I'm going to come back and drive that. That gives me an opening. That foot, that leg opens and it's not really attached anywhere. And that gives me as a passer right away a direction to go. I'm going to slide back and get a grip and start pinning that. Does that make sense? So if you open and this one hits the mat and your knees pinch, see, now no matter which way he turns, you still got a direction to go. You still do not just pin that open. Or if you want to work a foot to the hip, that's fine too. But like I said, if you don't have a preference either way, try one or the other. But you get used to doing something one way or the other, where than one leg just kind of opening. That's going to be the spot that a guard passer like me, I'm going to come back, find that grip, and that's my direction. I'm going to start. Yes, it is. That's makes sense.
keep this heel here, use that to pull you back.
Yeah, that's what I do. I kinda let, so I use my gauge and how far I'm going.
Yeah, I use the
I let
hip
that, my foot slide till my heel catches, and then just kinda like a stirrup, you know, like a horse, just use that hook and pull myself back in to the start position.
Where just great spin. I know. Oh, yeah. So, close guard.
Might push off foot to launch this hip. Instead of to the back.
So like this.
And now you're
Alright, I know this might be kind of weird to ask if anybody has a question on that or not, but was there a spot where you were struggling with something like the, yeah?
Well, I think I was backwards in putting the foot up on the hip before doing the shrimp. So I put the wrong foot up and it felt weird. They both felt weird if I put the left foot up and I was going left versus the right foot up going left.
It's gonna go, like I said, if I'm going foot on the hip, so like I said, the next step we're gonna do is add in our grips, okay? So we'll kind of go that direction. I like the sleeve collar, so that's what I'm gonna get. So when I open my guard, if I'm going foot on the hip, this one hits the mat, and this foot goes straight in the hip right away. I don't know if that's what you're,
Well, I was actually using the hip push.
I want that to kick out.
from here, the next step, yeah. And then from here, yeah, I'm gonna use that
So that's opposite
to
side.
push.
He's using both.
This essentially would be my bottom foot if I was doing the knee elbow drill. That makes sense?
It is.
Opening, foot hits the mat. This one comes right to the hip. Cause I was telling Rex this, right? When I open my guard, I want to be active. I don't want one foot, like if I know I'm gonna shrimp this way, I don't want this foot to just open and be loose, right? Because as a guard passer, if this leg's not doing anything and it opens, that's straight where my grip's going, and I'm gonna hop up and pin, and that immediately is the direction that I'm going, right? I wanna stay, so if I'm just gonna go feet to the mat here, right? If he moves too far or whatever, for whatever reason, I can come right back here to close guard, or I'm in that position, like I said, next step to move. Or if I'm gonna go foot on the hip, it's the same kind of thing. I'm coming here, my foot's on the hip. So that way, my guard is staying active. It's not wrong, but when you start to train to a higher level, right? Like, if you're rolling with me and this leg is loose, like I'm saying, that's right away, this grip's gonna come back, and I'm gonna pin that leg, and I'm gonna start passing. Okay? So we wanna just try and create the best habit that we can as soon as we can. That way we don't have to rewind and fix something that we've already, built a bad habit of, right? Does that help with your question?
It is.
Okay. So next, like I said, we're gonna get our grips, okay? Oh, yes.
I was watching Coach Mike, and when he would move his hips out, this was still off the ground. I think I was just dragging mine when I pushed off.
Well, you're gonna find too that now we're gonna add our grips in, that you're, kinda like I talked about our stance, and compared to a baseball stance, you watch a Major League Baseball game, you can see 10, 12, 15 different variations of a stance, but when it comes to the mechanics of hitting a home run, they all hit the home run the same way, right? Your hips come through, your hips, feet, step, all that, the mechanics of hitting a home run are the same no matter how your stance starts. So, you're gonna find some variation depending upon what you're gonna do with your guard, right? Where you're going with it. So if something's a little like Coach Mike, it may help to have his hips off the ground at a sooner point in time. Nobody's gonna tell you that, hey, your hips are off the mat, put them back on the mat, okay? And so as we build into this and you get more comfortable with a certain direction that you're going with your guard, you're gonna find out, okay, I'm okay if my hips are on the mat more for what I'm doing, or you'll be like, nope, I gotta get my hips off the mat right away. Does that make sense? So yeah, next we're gonna add in our grips. I like sleeve collar. You can go double sleeve. Some of you guys have a direction already. Obviously, go that way. If you don't, you're welcome to do sleeve collar, there's a lot of options there, that's what I like. So we're gonna do the exact same drill. I wanna establish my grips, then I wanna open my guard, and then I'm gonna move, right? And then now we can use our grips, and some of you that are putting foot in the hip, now that you have your grips, you probably find it easier to come back in, because now you have your grips to help pull yourself back in to a closed guard position, reset, do another one. Make sense? So same thing, 10 of them total, but using your grips. 1, 2, 3.
So the EW version, the sleeve collar groups, would be wrist. What do you mean with collar? This is
90, so I know you like going to that shoulder crunch grip, so I want you to think about too. I still gotta maintain control between the point of my, open my guard, and I'm hitting that,
So that's one.
that underhook for that shoulder crunch grip, right? So cause if you open your guard and just go to sit up, there's a point in time in there where you're not really controlling anything on your partner, right? And so, like I said, I'm just trying to think, I was up, whatever it was, a couple weeks ago, and I had a fight with Professor Mark, he said something that really isn't anything too crazy, but he's like, well, you need to think and train like a black belt. He said, you just got your brown belt, but you need to think and train like a black belt, right? And so, that's, for me, that's gonna be focusing on those little things and those little spots, right? You just got your purple belt, so now it's time to already start thinking like a brown belt, right? And that's gonna be the big difference between purple belt and brown belt, and then brown belt, black belt, is, yes, you're gonna learn more, but the things you're really good at now, you're just gonna clean up and get really, really good at, right? So think about that in that transition too, when you're opening your guard, you're probably gonna have to work some other kind of grip to control, or maybe you keep your closed guard and you try to sit up, right? But try to think about that middle spot and what works good for you to, well, transition here, so when we go open your guard and have that shoulder crunch grip. Makes sense?
See how I extended it out? Gives me less room to work.
You're using this foot to shoot out versus that, this one is pretty, right? Cause I want that, cause if you're bringing up like a knee shield and then using your knee shield to go in and out, which I want to be able to focus on that knee shield, and that foot should actually be higher than the hip, right? And turned and hooked, like at the base of that lat, right? So if I can, my knee shield goes there, now I can focus on having my knee shield the way it's supposed to be, pushing with it, right? Push, pull, and now I can use this foot to create that distance. Yeah, go ahead, Caleb, hop in. I was helping a little bit over here on some things, so you got time to get me ready.
That was just stuck under there, like I can't use my hips out.
With, okay, what's one? Go through it. I was kind of pulling back and forth.
If I'm just here, look at my grip. When I put the turn here, I just feel like when I get my,
So if you, like I said, if you need to, don't use this foot more, leave this foot out. But use this foot to move yourself. To really, cause I wanna think about, crunching. I wanna say, remember high on that shoulder? Keep yourself out. So think more on, I'm not trying to get this foot back right away. Cause I'm not using my knee shield, right? I know we just kinda talked about the foot thing the other way, but I'm not using a knee shield here, right? I don't want there to be any space here. So this, I'm doing that same thing, just keeping this pinched. And now I can work out, then there's the elbow underneath the chin, and then there's your sweep. Make sense? Good, like I said, this is exactly what I want with these kind of things, right? I know we did a couple of classes, last month from our feet. All the classes that I did, that's, I worked from our feet, hyper-focused on our stance and movement, level changing. I know for me, that's my own stuff, that's what I'm focusing on, is these kind of details, right? It's not that you don't know that shoulder lock sweep, it's one of your favorite sweeps and your favorite position to go to, right? But now it's time to, okay, where's the space, right? It might work with somebody that's, newer, but you should get me in trouble with it, you should get Caleb in trouble with it, right? We should be like, oh, I gotta make sure that I'm paying attention, or you're gonna catch me with that sweep, right? So if you kind of felt like, oh, I didn't really think about this, or these kind of things kind of make you feel dumb for a minute, right? Like that's kind of the point. I want you to have to hyper focus on these things because that's what's gonna make, right, the sweep work. If you can't get into the position, we can set up that shoulder lock sweep and be like, okay, you have here, and it'll work 100% of the time. But then we go live with it, and you're like, well, now I can't make it work. It's trying to get that move to get to this point, right? And that's where all these little details come in. So, as we're working this month and really just going forward, pay attention to those things. If you're having trouble with something, put yourself in that situation over and over and over again, and try to figure out where the problem is. If it's, you may not have to know the exact detail, but if it was that situation, it'd be from like one time I opened the guard, and somewhere in between opening the guard and trying to get that lock is where I'm struggling with it. Okay, well now we've narrowed it down a little bit, and we can start to, pick it apart and figure out why something's not working. So I encourage every one of you guys to do that same kind of thing in any movement. It can be a submission, it can be a takedown, it can be a sweep, it can be an escape from the bottom, whatever, right? If you're having trouble with something, put yourself there a couple more times in a row so you can figure out, not knowing the answer to the problem, but you're like, it's somewhere right here, right? Because that's going to give us as coaches a spot to start and just break something down and say, okay, here's where it's at. There's too much space here, I'm moving the wrong way, or whatever. So, just something to get your brains warmed up, get us a little warmed up. Take 10 minutes today. So Coach Mike has got technique, I just had warm up. So, it's all yours, sir.
Sweet. Awesome. So, the first thing I want to show is actually an issue that somebody I wrote with yesterday had. If you're gonna explain kind of my take on that, and then maybe work with something new-ish afterward. So I was rolling with somebody, and they were trying to use initial lock, which is like, do you mind if I use it? But whenever they had initial, we were here. Can anybody tell me what might be wrong with this?
Usually it's too close, so
What?
needs to be cut around the laps.
Exactly. So if I'm using my initial, I don't want my foot to be inside his thigh, or kind of because all he's gonna do is he's just gonna shut that knee over, and I'm gonna be in for a whirl here. It's gonna suck. So whenever we're using our initials, most of the time, we don't want to be focused on mass. I was just telling somebody, I like to get my collar, and I will set my arm to the inside of my initial. I just feel like it gives me like a little bit of structure. A little bit of structure to keep it from going over center. Like right now, it's kind of right under his chin, in the middle of his chest, right where I want it to be. And that's like a little shooter for me. Plus, if he does try to push it, like my arm is in play, right? And the second thing is, I keep my foot, like the bridge of my foot hooked in, kind of towards the hip usually. That's just to keep it outside his head. But just from here, right? And it doesn't matter, like this leg, if I'm out here, that's awesome. I was thinking about this on the way home, or on the way here. Where this leg is gonna tell me whether I'm gonna try to get out or sweep. So if it's outside, if it starts outside, or even if it's here, I'm thinking sweep, right? So we're gonna get either push, or if my sweep series that I might not play, right? Whereas if I'm in more of a half guard situation, and the half guard situation, I can't lug out, and it sleeps, I'm gonna go the other way. And so, come up here, and I'll just sit out. Sit out, sit out, sit out. And so, come here,
Or get under your weapon and get out of dodge, right? No, not the same thing. Does that make sense? More or less? Does anybody have any questions for that? That's kind of just like concept, not really a move, really. We wanna play with it for a few minutes and we'll move to something else?
Both,
Yeah.
both of those, me personally, I'm gonna get, put it up on their hip.
Yeah.
To make it a little bit more controlling. Is that just kind of like a little piece of what you were talking
Right.
about?
Are
Or
you
do you have
talking-
something to do with that?
The bottom foot?
Yes, sir.
So, you're here and you like to get this one.
Yes, sir.
Especially.
That's what I try to go for, cause that's even more of a lockdown.
I also, this is just me, I like to use that to stretch mountain, right? So even if I'm not necessarily going for a sweep, let's just use this to stretch them out over me. And you guys all know I've been working a lot last summer, so it gives me the opportunity to get that footing. I just stretch out enough. Then I can just, and then he's bent over and it doesn't feel great, okay? So yes, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's one of those variables like I was talking about with, depending upon where you're going with your guard, things are gonna change, right? We were just kind of talking about that same thing with the foot and the hip or knee shield. So that's where some of the variables about what you're gonna do with your guard.
Have a reason for it.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna, with the hip allows you to control distance, you're going a certain direction. Coach Mike's going to lasso with it, and so yeah, this is where some of those variables are gonna be, where you open your guard, you got your grips, you made space, right now he's in, like in that situation, he's in control of the situation. I don't have, so that's what we want when you're in that guard position. I wanna be in control of the situation. He doesn't want me to have a grip and be postured up and be pinning the hip or locking down the knee or something like that. You wanna have that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's where those variables are gonna come in.
And that's just from that kind of like,
More backward, one, knee shield situation, like obviously there is like the shoulder crunch sweep and stuff, if you do have that hook in. I'm not talking about that today, like there's nothing wrong with that, this is just for like the, when you're down, you have knee shield, that's right. I don't think if you guys will, take 2 minutes and just work with that position a little bit, do leg out, leg in, like kind of half guard, full guard from the knee shield. Try the wrong way first. So get the knee shield in, start with the foot inside, just to feel it, and then work towards the two different stages. Cool. Alright. Any questions? Okay. 1, 2, 3. And hopefully progress.
So when you said you're using,
I see you recording.
yep, we still have, minutes, so, yeah, 20, 6,
For next class, yeah.
yeah, so keep your knee shields, and then you can make space either on the mat, or you can put your foot in the, never coming up on your elbow. Yeah. Slide in. Well, right here you would want to slide back in, because you're in a position, you can sweep right here, or Yeah, so anytime you start from guard, especially if you're wearing a foot, first thing you're gonna have to address is gonna be the grip by your foot. That's what that tells you when you do this. Yep, exactly. On that up. Because the more you do, the easier it is for you to sleep.
Pushing and pulling.
That makes sense.
Pulling, you can already see it, start to move, like, pulling, start to move.
Like set up, like you just roll.
But if I leave it
Yeah,
off,
just
right,
lateral.
over here, over here,
Because you're
sitting that
sitting
near
here,
that
so
movement,
you
you
basically
basically
just
just
go
go back and forth.
You have to show the rest that you want, so
There's one side.
pull that here, here while you extend that way.
Now I can
Yep.
readjusting.
You can't do that if you're.
I've had more success.
But now it depends if they stay, like I said, way posture back. I've got my scissors cleat or my knee push cleat, that goes forward, work on my face, I can work. I got my shield in here, that's some guard stuff. It's a lot harder
Plus,
stuff.
you get good bits.
Yeah, but, so yeah, I'm focused on using it here. I wanna stay.
It was a lot easier.
Biggest thing, right, we start to slow down on the bottom of the guard.
If they're
That's
super
when
far back in their base,
the person that
I
passes,
wouldn't go through seriously, but go for the kicks.
you know, finds their time to run, right?
Yeah, so-
Focus on staying on this, that's where it picks up from. It takes extra work, because your legs get tired, but my hips stay up. I'm always able, whether it's the knee outside, I need to come back in.
Yeah, okay, so you can still grab the hip and roll it, that's the best way to do it. Grab the hip and roll your fingers in, like that. You just can't grab inside.
Yeah,
All
so
that
the
is
difference between, like, the scissor, difference between the scissor and the knee push
Yep.
is gonna be on whether, what his position is. He's focused on sitting back, right, because my scissors do my knee to extend here, right, over his belly. So he's just focused on sitting back, and I'm having trouble extending him,
And
that's where I go to the knee push.
Now.
But if I'm able to, now even that's where my
Push with your feet and you scoot back with your butt. Like, extend your scoot back. Extend it like you're pulling it with you. And then you're
that's kind of how I determine between one and the other.
Yeah.
Their position.
But sometimes you go to the scissors and bring them more.
And they're like, oh, I know it's like I have to focus on just bringing it like way back, right? Just sit back and then and then you pull forward, right? But when they're focused on sitting so far back, where's all their weight? Right here, right? So now you drop from here to the knee, push the knee out.
I go, sure.
Sir.
Yeah, so, the difference. It's almost like a magic series. Them being on their base and extending them can be the visual aid of that. I think so.
And using that for.
So just extend
about using the knee shield to push, I just keep him up and working away from me. So I use that to even get out, right? So I'm here, I'm gonna use that to pull my leg out. From here, or her push. If I can, get this up. Keep the knee shield and then try to get it under. Try to do that, I can kind of push and pull at the same time. And also with this hook, with the hurt in my foot, kind of use that as well. Come here, right? And I'm pulling this up and moving around. That make sense? And what were we talking about the extension? Like just from sitting here?
Like you're getting ready to load them up for a scissor sweep.
Yeah, just the transition from the, you get your speed collar grip and your knee shield, and then just from that transition to loading.
Okay.
Just that beginning.
You guys kind of figured it out?
We had, we just
We're
started
working
talking
on
on
that.
that, so we haven't got that far yet.
Right.
That's all right.
So with that one, so we usually kind of here, right? So here, we move them. So you get this guy. We come something like this. I like to come up with my knee. Here, right? And so even if I'm here, I'm gonna come in and fall back. Off the knee. Or off the elbow, I'm sorry, off my elbow. So boom. Fall back while simultaneously kicking that over. You know? Is that kind of where we were?
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was Professor Mark or somebody, they kind of gave me a visual about thinking about like this is like a platform, and you're trying to bring that person up onto that platform, right? I'm not trying to
And
just
dump
let it
it.
collapse, I want to use that to bring it up onto a platform, right? As I'm on this one. And as soon as I feel that weight on here, and I'm not trying to just get him up here and balance. Just like Coach Rice was saying, as soon as that happens now, I transition.
Anything that look like that is gives you that good momentum to ride over instead of just flopping them over the side.
Plus, it's also where you want to think about, so we all know the scissor sweep and the push sweep. So if it fails, perfect world, you want to be really quick with that transition. Like if you come up and you can't. So I'm doing this, and I think I'm doing it right. And I come up, and I pull back, but he doesn't go. So I gotta be really fast. It's gonna make my life easier if I'm really fast with going for the knee push. So I'm up here, I think I'm tight. I come here, he's in. As soon as I get here and I failed, immediately. Otherwise, I'm just making it harder on myself.
You immediately come back up and go back.
No, not even. Just pull the foot up and kick it out.
Yeah, go from the mat to the,
Yeah,
from the,
like as quickly as possible. Okay, if I can, I don't want to have to reset. I will. It's not the end of the world, but then he knows what I'm trying to do. It's a whole plan. Does that make sense? We want to work just that little bit a little longer. Alright, let's get 1, 2, 3. As I'm coming down,
No, you're gonna do that, yeah. More aggressive. You know,
as you're pulling off, so get up on your elbows.
you're gonna do it fast.
Yeah.
And the faster you do it, the faster you come right up in the mountain, which is exactly where you wanna be. And on the knee push, so if you fail the scissor sweep, or if they're just being, if the
So, one thing you want to
So, am I back here?
I didn't fully understand.
So, yeah.
Think about it.
So, either do it right there, or you can do it down the knees.
And then, like even here, he's not coming to run. Right? It's a little bit.
That's a cool switch.
I've done it a few times.
So the knee push is, you push the shin. Yeah, so pulling motion onto this knee. Get this, grab this. Now get some motion in.
And so just do those things too.
This is okay.
They are.
Keep on.
And
Not, I don't.
so more thoughts and not the wrong one.
Right here.
So I feel as far as.
I don't use this.
Yeah. So keep your elbow in as much as you can. Yep. Now extend out so your fingers on the foot. You pulled me on top of you when you did it. So your arms up here. Keep that. Push your ass back.
Sometimes gets too heavy and
Keep
falls.
this contraction.
Yeah, no.
I want to be, you want to hold these up. Does that make sense? Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Push off of this hip. Push your come over. Alright, I've got my knee shield in. You're all set up here. I've got like a foot in. I want to push. Up, and he's coming up over the top of me. So that this one keeps the hand up, which I don't know if I've ever seen you do that. Always just come back on the elbow to extend that arm.
Yeah.
But
This is just snap.
Yeah.
And he's using his back to load. It's moving over here and then.
Yeah.
He loads it, right? Sometimes he's trying to pull in third person.
Sometimes being short on all sheets, because my arm is short than all of this. So, I'll get to the point where this may or may not help you have office. But if I am trying to do this, and I'm pulling this out, it will transition from pulling it up to pushing it. I'm gonna pull it shoulder.
Okay.
And so then it's easy.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah, you're absolutely right, when 9 times out of 10, it is just a static move. You just get to the point where you start to feel weak, you just hang out. They go, but sometimes you get off there. And I think that helps, it helps stretch them out more.
Yeah, you're stronger pushing, you're not pulling.
Exactly.
I do love it. I do it too all the time.
Yep.
And so should I come up on my elbow before I try to extend it out?
I like to, I get them up on my elbow and let that foot start to hit. This one, right? Because now you're in a position, you can go center sleep, you can knee your sleep, you can, you're in a, this puts you in a position to go multiple. Depending on what I might get just super aggressive, I might just go this. To try to defend everything, right? And then that's the underhook thing, right? Because I'm going to this way, and that's the way it's under. So, I like this position right here, just because it gives you more options. I try to
extending the UI.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so it's fabulous. So you're in time.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
so you're walking there,
So I kind of.
without having to stop and change something. So now, right now, I'm getting the position where I don't gotta take it off, and start this one out really good. We do this, now we're gonna take out that, there's somebody that argue with me, so in that one position, I do it. Right now, I'm just, I can do it.
Oh.
You don't more than 2 or 3 right now, they get in position, that's still starts over. It's just one position. And it's part of reacting. So like, oh, we've been working this solution, I go super aggressive, and just start this way, so that, but you don't.
About 10 times. Which one? 10 of them. Which one? Breakfast.
Everything else is the same. Working from there.
When I come back up on microservice.
Now you're in spot. So she's working on posturing back, right? Now they drop the knee, knee push.
In position of anyway.
Focus on sitting back and then back. A lot of the times, as you continue to train more, that scissor sweep.
Well, this is supposed to set up to get this
But
in.
you use the scissor sweep to fake the knee push, right? Because you come up like you're not scissor sweep and then what they do is a butterfly sweep to aggressive, right? So they sit back.
But again,
Do anything else, you just go from, my knee and my foot just goes from here to here and straight in there.
Do you have any questions for me regarding these guys? Any concepts, sweeps, underhook, get out, anything? Well, kind of got the idea at least, right?
I got a pretty basic question. It goes back to the very beginning of the class. I should ask it. Whenever, 99% of the time, if you're going up and you're grabbing an arm from the bottom, controlling an arm, whether it's from the sleeve, the arm side, you always shrimp away from the arm side. It doesn't matter if you have the collar tie, cross collar lapel, doesn't matter. You're always shrimping away from the arm. Is that right?
Generally speaking, I'm not gonna say always, because I'm sure there's things out there where you go somewhere, you go the other way, but for what we covered today, yes.
Okay. I get hung up in that when I'm going live and I'm like, okay, which side do I go? I haven't thought about it enough to say, if I'm controlling an arm, I generally should shrink away.
Would it help if you thought about it like a frame? Because, I mean, more or less it is, right? It's like if you're framing, you don't want to frame it like you frame usually. You want to frame it to be strong.
Well, you get inside control, framing here,
Yeah.
right? I'm not gonna frame it and roll back into it.
Right.
I'm gonna frame and I'm gonna turn away from it, so so my frame is strong this way. Turn away from it, so roll into it. Same kind of thing this way, right?
But yes, you're
I can keep getting hung up on that in the body. So like these are good, I can conceptualize these moves, we can already in the position, you tell us which way to go.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing when we roll on these. Time for me to process, which side is also good.
Right. That's okay, that's great.
Comes with repetition.
Yeah.
And you're gonna find one side's easier than the other, like your right hand or left hand, it's gonna be the same thing, and usually you're gonna find that going the right side or the left side or whatever. One side or the other is gonna be just easier.
This came up yesterday too, so like, I'm a proponent of training both sides on everything. But it's hard, it's so hard to make yourself do it because it's so awkward, right? It's like trying to write with your non-dominant hand, you know, you just can't, don't want to. Jiu-jitsu is one of those things,
side for so long, going the non-dominant way winds up working better because people don't expect you to go there. So, I don't know, that's just something to think about.
I was, oh, sorry.
Oh,
No, I was gonna actually mention that because the vast majority of people I know are right-handed.
Yep.
And they all go for that one side, so if the left-hand game is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, they don't know what to do because they're only used to defending it that one way.
Right.
So, it's both ways.
so I think at least some, we should always think about trying to do it for hand catchers, at least in here.
Yeah, we wanna make sure we understand the technique first, right?
Yes,
Don't do it-
absolutely.
If it's the first time you've ever learned something, don't do it on the right side once and then try and do it on the left side, right?
Right.
And you still haven't figured it out on the right side.
Yeah.
It's always good to understand the technique and to feel comfortable with it on one side or the other, cause then you're gonna have a much easier transition into the other side, because you already understand the parts and pieces and can make it work one way.